Thank you so much for joining tonight. I'll run through a quick housekeeping items, and then we're planning on about 45 minutes for our speaker presentations, and then we're excited to take your questions. We do have a pretty packed agenda, so we are asking that we save questions until the very end, but you can go ahead and put them in the chat as soon as they come to you, and we'll make sure that we surface them up to the speakers as soon as we open up for Q&A. We're a good sized group tonight, but if you're comfortable, we always encourage you to turn your cameras on. It's nice for us to try to connect names with faces. We went over questions in the chat, but if you think of anything later, you can always email us at extension@ucsc.edu. And I will put that in the chat in just a second. You probably saw we are recording tonight's session, so be on the lookout probably in the next week for a polished version of tonight's recording. And we'll be sure to include some related coursework that we think will nicely complement tonight's conversation. So I think those are all my agenda items. With that, let me intro our speakers. Okay, so leading us tonight is Ajay Baranwal. Ajay works at D2S. He leads applied deep learning research and development efforts to solve semiconductor manufacturing problems. He's also one of our own. He's the chair of the AI program here at Extension. You can see he teaches deep reinforcement learning, GANs for data synthesis, and the business of AI. Also joining us tonight is Shalini Ananda. Shalini is a machine learning engineer. She works on projects related to 3D bioprinting and determining the likelihood of relapse and addiction. She teaches AI for sustainability using satellite data. And she'll also be teaching generative AI tools coming this spring next year, which we're very excited about. And then rounding out this rockstar lineup, we also have Sudhakar Alla. Sudhakar is an autonomous systems engineer at Accuro with expertise in computer vision, machine learning, robotics, and development of hardware, software, integrated systems. And he's also an extension instructor where he teaches artificial intelligence for robotics. So we're in great hands tonight. I'm going to stop my share. And AJ, the floor is officially yours.
All right, thanks, Curry. And I'm Ajay. And I would like to start off with this picture. I'm sure most of you must have seen this picture or this article. This came last week, I think. And these are top 100 AI pioneers, godfathers, grandfathers, innovators. For us, these are the celebrities. And I think you guys can connect with them. You might want to be like one of them. I want to be one of them. But guess what? These people are working to replace themselves. Wow, that's pretty interesting. But on a serious note, they are building systems, AI systems that can help human life, industry, and many other aspects of our lives. For example, they are actually building AI systems in agriculture, manufacturing, security, self-autonomous driving, and art creation as well. And generative AI has been the most relevant right now. And I think it will be a crime to talk about AI, machine learning, deep learning, and not talk about ChatGPT. And the reason is because ChatGPT is by far one of the best, one of the promising techniques out there, which works for everyone. Even my child has something from ChatGPT. And primarily we have seen mostly on the conversation, but pretty much generative AI is for creating training data. And it can actually create and curate like humans, whether it's a conversational chatbot. I remember when I started my deep learning journey back in probably 6 years ago, we used to try to generate language, abstractive summary. It was pretty hard, but gone are those days. Same thing is true with GitHub CoPilot, where it can create code for you and it can create art for you, which is awesome. Generative AI is a subset of deep learning for the data creation. And you can see a bigger picture here. We talk about artificial intelligence. We talk about, by the way, many times people call artificial intelligence as assistant intelligence, because artificial intelligence is not going to replace us. It is going to assist us in the form of tools and other stuff. And pretty much there are three fundamental type of machine learning, AI: supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. And UCSC Extension Here we have a mission to prepare you for this change, for these AI advancements, generative AI, through our courses and through the instructors. Those are not just the instructor, they are pioneers, leading guys in their own industries. You directly learn from them. One thing I would like to mention here is ChatGPT is a collection of so many DL, ML, AI techniques that span from supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. And this is a work of art for sure. All right. And at the UCSC Extension, we offer several courses. They I think there are more than 15 plus courses, and primarily they cover computer vision, generative AI, NLP, NLU, business of AI, robotics, reinforcement learning, and other workflows. And we are also, we have worked through and are working on a two-pronged path for different audiences. One is app development, AI app development, and other one, which is going to be offered in the next year, is the AI series. In the app development side, there are some basic requirements here, as you can see on the screen, and there are specialization courses such as DRL, GANs, NLP, AI for robotics, and also a very important course, which is building AI application in the form of capstone project. And what we are seeing for the next year is the AI series for the general users. So we'll have generative AI fundamentals, AI-driven productivity for the office, and intelligent automation, pretty much taking the RPAs to the advanced level. All right. So you want to be like one of these guys? I want to be, and we are actually here to help you guys. That's it. Thanks, Karim. I think we can pass to the next speaker, or if there are some questions, I can take one or two questions.
There was one question from Mark who asks, what fears of this new tech are justified? It's kind of a big question, so we can kind of put that in the back of our mind, or you can try to address that now, Ajay.
What fears? Oh, yeah. The simplest example is a knife. You can use a knife the way you want to use it, right? AI tools are like knife or hammers. You can hammer down things, or you can actually boost your productivity and your lives. So I don't see any fear factor per se. Technology and AI in particular is going to open up new opportunities and new realm and paradigms.
Thanks, Ajay. Thanks for the question, Mark. Please put your questions in the chat if you have any through the presentations.
Shalini, do you want to hop on?
All right, so we're looking at tools today that are Gen AI tools. So I think something Jim will tell you, you also have the ability to create your own tools, and we also have the ability to test out and use tools that are available. So there's DALL-E, ChatGPT 3 that was mentioned, Anthropic that was mentioned, Midjourney. So this new field is coming up. It's called prompt engineering. People think, well, you know, it's just English. It's just kind of like writing a prompt, but it's a little bit more sophisticated than that, because we have multi-turn prompts where, you know, you can converse with the agent in, I guess, in several prompts, and you also have a way of writing the prompts so that you can kind of get the answer that you want. So I think for everybody's kind of entertainment, I thought Jasper, which is they're working closely with OpenAI tools. The interesting thing about OpenAI is that they're releasing a whole gamut of plugins where you can plug into websites, and so that, you know, you can use AI with your website or with other tools. So how many of you guys have heard of Jasper? And how many of you guys know what Jasper does? Okay, here, okay. So Jasper generates brand content, and this is their advertisement. So let's watch it for a minute.
Hey, champ, how's that blog post coming?
Great. Really great. Almost too great.
Great. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait.
You need a little inspiration. Jasper is here to help. It's an app that uses AI to help you create any kind of content you need. It's like having your very own robot sidekick with an infinite supply of ideas. And that's why the perfect pair of socks is like a hug for your feet.
Damn, that's good.
Headlines, articles, images, anything, everything.
Jasper, I need some caption ideas for Instagram. Like a lot of them.
You got it.
These are so good. I could kiss you, but I won't.
Dear customer, it looks like your account problem is user error. It's a little confrontational. What if we lighten it up a little bit?
Jasper can fine-tune the voice and tone of your writing. Sorry to hear about the problems with your account. I'll make sure everything goes smoothly. Smiley face.
Nice. Jasper.
So I think with this ad, what they're highlighting is that, with customers, people have learned that it's about tone. It's about how you write a specific description or a response that actually, keeps customers, as opposed to if you wrote something rude. So how many of you guys have used Grammarly here? Okay. And so Grammarly does have an icon that says change the language, make it more assertive, make it softer, add smiley faces. And these are all key things in customer service when you want to engage with someone. Usually, I think people write quick emails because they want to move on to the next thing. But I think this is a good way of engaging with someone, say when you're preoccupied or otherwise. So I think that's why I think this is a great ad for generative AI overall.
Can I get that in Italian?
Naturalmente.
Sweet. Blog post is done in record time. Now I just need some images for it.
Jasper can even generate custom art based on your prompts. Get images of literally anything you can think of in seconds.
You finished all those articles already?
Just felt inspired?
Jasper learns how humans create by consuming the internet. It gives Jasper endless options, and that means it can create original content without plagiarizing anything. Now you'll always have the content you need, in whatever style you want.
I think this idea of not plagiarizing everything is still debatable, so we'll leave it at that. But one thing they did mention is they do create content in record time, and it's well thought out, is well structured, and it's something that would be impressive to somebody else. So
This post is incredible and so you. Would you like a ridiculously huge promotion?
I would be okay with that.
Who's your little friend?
I'm Jasper.
Nobody.
So I think Jasper is like one of the very many tools that are out there. Yeah, so I guess, so I'm sure a lot of people here have used ChatGPT 3. How many of you guys have used Anthropic's Claude 2? Okay. Can anybody tell me what the differences are between ChatGPT 3 and Anthropic? Okay, so ChatGPT 3 just gives you an answer to a question, but Anthropic is about safety. So it won't let you say something that is offensive. So they're more about safety. So those are difference between these two large language models. Okay, so now let's try something cool. Okay, so I want from the audience, and we're gonna generate art. So who's down? So give me something. So I tried elk on the moon. Give me something else to generate.
We have cat stars from Kathleen.
Cat stars. Cat stars. Okay. So now we're gonna see. We saw the Jasper commercial. Now we're gonna see how this actually works and if it actually works. So it's gonna take a moment to generate. So each of these companies have their. Okay, so cat with stars. So let's try a more difficult prompt. Something like elk on the moon or rat on a spaceship. So let's get more creative just to kind of generate.
I have a suggestion. How about Albert Einstein riding a unicorn?
Okay, I like that one. Albert Einstein riding a unicorn. So I believe there's another another instructor that's actually going to talk about how these are generated. but for my specific segment, I'm just gonna show you how to use them, how to prompt them. It's good one. Okay, so I think we're up to time. But there is something I wanted to show you. This gentleman put together something where it can change voices, it can do object removal, video editing, text models, data analysis, and so on. So there are several companies, and there's a list of like at least 20 companies and more that are coming up that use AI to do a variety of different things. To increase productivity. So in this specific class, we'll go through how to use these tools, how to prompt them correctly, and also some of the ethics behind it. Because if you do something that's, I guess, considered, I wouldn't say illegal, but considered unsafe is the word that they use, unsafe, then it will lock you out or shut you down from your account, because that has happened to a few people. So if there's anything else that Jim or Jennifer would like to say, I guess I'm up to time.
Thanks, Shalini. Sudhakar, do you want to jump in?
Hi, my name is Sudhakar Alla. So I come from a computer engineering background, specializing in robotics and computer vision. So I'll do a quick rundown of what we can kind of expect in the class I teach, AISV 807. So thanks to my background, I actually work with our late program chair here, Bipin. So I would just take a quick moment to recognize his contributions. He really played a lot of foundational role in this program, as well as computer science and vision programs around the Bay Area. So really grateful for his contribution there. So thanks to his help with me, I've been able to develop AISV 807, which is kind of an intermediary between the courses Ajay was talking about and the tools that Shalini was describing. So the things Ajay was talking about, and he will go into deeper, those are really low level. You're actually coding the models and then building out intelligence there. And then we have the other side of it, which is the actual application for the end user, who doesn't necessarily have a robot to load it on or anything, but they're actually just using the software to perform a variety of tasks like Shalini just showed us. We have an intermediary though, where these models kind of need to be applied somewhere. So traditionally they can either be put on like HRIs, which just human robot interaction systems, which is, they're not necessarily robots because they don't do any autonomous behavior on their own, but they are something that humans interact with. So putting that sector of application aside, we do have robotics, which is a huge realm of topics. So what we focus on in AISV 807 is kind of looking at the variety of applications that we do have at our disposal that we can integrate with robots. So this can be anything like actual physical chatbots, for example, that little robot in Shalini's video just now, right? That would be an actual chatbot, not just simple NLP, where it's like, you go to a website and they're trying to tell you other products. That would be simple NLP, but we can put something like that in a robot. I don't know if anyone's heard of Pepper Robot. It's a machine from Fetch Robotics that's extremely expensive. It's like $60,000, but it's a robot about 3-4 feet high that will very personably talk to people, do prompts, interactions, things like that. So the intersection for robots and AI has really just gotten much bigger, and thanks to computer vision, this field has blown up. So we can now start doing novel applications and solutions using not just things like image processing. So back in the day, object detection was a big word, right? So everybody and their fathers did some kind of model to do detection of things in an image. But things nowadays are getting much more sophisticated. We're able to do pixel by pixel things. So instead of saying, is this cat in my images? I can start saying, is this the same cat in my images? And I can start saying, how do I define that this is the same cat? Do I look for certain features on its face? Can I look for a discoloration in its eyes pixels? there's really like fine tuning that we can do now. And this has just made a big difference in the range of applications we can do too. So that's kind of what we'll talk about in this class. So my goal in 807 is first to kind of get a basic understanding of robotic concepts, but then we start delving deeper into the type of machine learning applications that we have and the type of things that can actually be integrated onto robots, right? Not everything that will run on a 200 core GPU will work on a robot the size of like my palm of my hand or something, right? So that kind of like thinking is really important when we're designing applications for robotics. We're required to think about memory constraints, like even charge constraints, discussion. There's a lot of different pieces that we need to take into account. So these are the pieces that we focus on in 807. There's also a capstone project which we'll be doing. So my goal is to kind of, once everyone's kind of on the same page about what we can do with robotics and different AI applications, we delve deeper into computer vision. As that's my specialty. We'll be working on object detection, but then developing something that we can load onto a robot. So a piece of software that is not memory intensive, but pretty optimized, and then is able to run on even a computer with no graphics card. That's a major goal kind of out of the course. And end goal of this, of course, I think as Ajay kind of brought up in the beginning, AI has blown up. There's a lot of jobs in the market, and coinciding with the boom that we have going on right now in just, for example, self-driving cars, just image annotation and labeling, generative art and tools. So the range of jobs that we have available are just expanding daily. So I think this is a very prime time for us to like just increase our aptitude in robotics, AI, and I think there's a wide variety of classes here at UC Santa Cruz. So looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys in that class. One thing I did want to bring up, which is a cool concept that I just think is it shows us how far we've come. So about 5-10 years ago, the biggest word was image processing. So back then, if I was looking to detect a crack, right, in the road or something, I would pretty much just create a whole bunch of training images of cracks and then ask a computer to generalize what it thinks a crack is. And then it would start looking for those in images. And I think a really good example of how far we've come is now I'm able to start teaching a computer or a piece of software what a crack is. I'm able to tell it that it is a bunch of connected pixels that are really dark, right? Or maybe they're light or something. So if I have a crack in, say, sidewalk asphalt, the cracks are usually darker colors or something like that. And if I have the resolution of a 4K camera, for example, if I have a drone going over my road with a 4K camera, I can take a really high resolution image, pass that on to a model, and then just by connecting the pixels using like a minimum cost algorithm, we can start doing things like crack detection on a much higher scale than we could do with training data, right? So even something that's so simple as crack detection has gotten so much more complicated and efficient. And I think that's really the exciting part of where we are right now with AI in general, but specifically computer vision. So, and this specific project that I mentioned is something I worked on, so we'll go deeper into it in my class as well. I have a pretty deep explanation of how we can do replicate it step by step. I hope that paints a picture for how far we've come. And I think in the time 100 people that was on that picture that Ajay showed us, I think the field is definitely growing. So this is the right time for anyone interested to kind of pick up those skills and then attempt to pick their picture up there. That's all I had on this. And one more thing we'll be going over in my class as well is machine learning development lifecycle. I think a lot of students that I've seen in previous lectures and sessions, they've come from the IT crowd in the Silicon Valley or other regions, and they're working traditionally in the software development lifecycle, which I think gets confused with the machine learning development lifecycle, and they are starkly different in that there's a lot more iterative processes in machine learning. So, and because it's data driven, so it's a lot of figuring out what we need, developing something, then coming back and iterating once more. So another important outcome out of the course is also to make sure that students that are coming out are well versed in, if they wanted to go attempt interviews or even anything in this Silicon Valley or further, they're empowered to do so. Looking forward to it, and please check out the array of classes that we offer at Silicon Valley.
So Sudhakar, I have a question. Do you think there are going to be more jobs that will become available in the near future? And what do you think the kind of jobs that will become available in the near future?
I certainly think, good question. I certainly think more jobs will come up. Like I think a lull in an industry where constantly the boundaries are being pushed just doesn't like make common sense, right? It's only a matter of time until jobs reopen. Whether they're not available right now due to competition or market scenarios is a separate thing, but certainly I think jobs will open up. And it can even be something as simple. I think people like say, oh, well, there's not that many jobs, but for example, like Tesla with autonomous driving, right? There were a bunch of jobs that came out right when they started doing autonomous driving detection. So if they're going on a road and the cameras on the vehicle have to detect if it's a human being or an image of a human being, right? And it like force stops the car. Things like that like are really like complex niche problems. So if I saw like a billboard image of a human and maybe that like and it was like a low to the ground, the car would like suddenly halt, right? And possibly create an accident because they don't want to hurt the human. But if we apply image detection, image processing techniques to kind of look like for depth, reflectivity, any texture features, things like that, then the car is then able to say, oh, this is just a picture of a human being. It's not anything important, and drives past. So I think nuanced things like this are going to start coming up where people are developing solutions using computer vision, robotics, and things like that. But then all these like little niche edge cases aren't caught, and someone's going to have to like help go in and then resolve them, right? And jobs are like just itching for that area.
Yeah, so I saw a question here regarding somebody that asked, how is this going to affect healthcare? I mean, obviously, healthcare, especially radiology, has changed in the last couple of years regarding, especially when machine learning and being able to label radiological images has kind of changed the landscape. So do you think where we are at, just engineers without medical training can work in this field? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a very good question. And I think it starts playing into like the actual ethics and morals of it, right? If I develop something that's really good at telling you if your cancer is benign or like active or not, right? Maybe my model can tell it to me with 99% accuracy, but then end of the day, you got to hear it from a doctor. So I think in this sector, and this is really like, it plays a part in my role too, because I work with CPG currently, but I'm not like a business background. And I think the thing that's the most important thing in this scenario is actually to interact with the domain experts there. So in my field, like, I work with people that have done finance and business for decades. And then I'm like, I have such a pricing model. Is this really applicable? And does this do what you do? In your example, if I have a machine learning model that detects cancer, I would work really closely with actual doctors and radiologists and then get their input. So I think that interaction with domain experts is something that's really important too. Even if we're just developers doing machine learning, I think if you can have that communication skill and actually interact with people in the domain, then there's nothing really stopping us from taking on jobs that are too difficult for us, or say.
Thank you.
I will stop my share. I think I'm over.
Thanks so much, Sudhakar.
Yeah.
Ajay, you want to wrap this up and then we'll do some Q&A?
All right. So we talked about the data. And when I started like 5-6 years ago, one of the biggest challenge for making a deep learning model was the data. And thanks to generative AI, we can actually create a lot of data. And in fact, one of the kind of use cases which was mentioned was in healthcare. Let's say if you want to build a diagnosis, a detection of a disease, you might not have all the data for that particular cause of the disease. And generative AI can actually help you. It can help you labeling the data, your maybe MRI images, your X-ray images, or things like that. And not only that, it can also help you to generate more X-ray images, for example. And that's where generative AI is very powerful. And I kind of showed this There are principally three types of machine learning, and generative AI is part of the DNN, the neural network. And if you see, the focus of generative AI has been on data creation. Pretty much, you saw Jasper, you have seen ChatGPT, Google Bard, conversational bots. Everywhere, if you see, the data generation has been quite crucial, and that's what generative AI does pretty well. Whether you are going to create a software, if you look at the GitHub CoPilot, you can actually get the mundane code or regular code right there, and you can have it for a very good kickstart from that. And you can go ahead and customize your code that has been generated from that. Then it has been in facilitating the drug development. That's another part of the healthcare or pharmaceutical industry, the targeted marketing, and a lot more. According to one of the Gartner's article, by 2025, Gen AI will account for 10% of all the data that will be produced. So that's pretty awesome. And the other thing I would like to say is, other question is the domain expertise required? Yes, that is required. And let's see how, by looking at how ChatGPT was trained. So there are primarily three components of that. The first one is the basic use of the LLMs. Of course, GPT 3.5, Turbo, 4.0, those have been great. And those have been used to generate the responses in a generation manner. That's pretty much more on the unsupervised learning. The second phase of this is there are humans in loop. There are labelers who have ranked the outputs from the LLMs, and they have built towards a reward strategy. This is like, this is preparing for the reinforcement learning, where you got the results for the different prompts from the LLMs, and then humans actually, those are experts in different industries. Actually, they have labeled them that out of 10 answers, which one is the best, which one is the worst, and they can rank it. And by using it, it created a reward model, and that reward model has been used to train another network, which is called PPO, which is one of the reinforcement learning algorithm. So you can see here, you have unsupervised learning, you have supervised learning, and the reinforcement learning from feedback, and that makes the whole system that actually works. So the human in loop is very important, and more so, the domain experts are also equally important. So the AI to me is kind of a carpentry. If a carpenter wants to create a cabinet which is with a very high precision, not anybody can do that. Only a good expert carpenter can do it. Same thing is true with the AI as well here. All right. And another article from Gartner, these are, you can see across the industry how the Gen AI has been, are being used. And just see there that where are the job opportunities actually. The industry is going towards solving all their, a lot of their problems, whether they are in automotive, manufacturing, architecture and engineering, energy, healthcare, electronic, manufacturing, pharmaceutical, telecommunication, and many other industries. And each of these industries are actually getting benefited from generative AI. And guess what? That's where, that's where the job will be. And answering another question, whether Gen AI is going to produce jobs, it is already doing it. If you see, prompt engineering is one of very most popular job and most paying, it's one of top paying job as well. So these generative AI is going to help us shift the focus and opening up newer opportunities. And Gartner said that 50% of software engineering leader roles will explicitly require oversight of Gen AI by 2025. That's a pretty strong statement. I always say to people that AI is hit or miss. If you miss the boat right now, you will repent 5 years down the line. I don't think there will be a software after 5 to 10 years without AI being in it. All right. And so here are some of the very interesting classes. Actually, I wish I can take these classes myself. I asked Jim, and he gave me a very diplomatic answer. So this Gen AI Fundamentals, pretty interesting class. It will talk about the fundamental concepts and principle of Gen AI, how to go about generating training data or just produce data. A lot of other details are here. I don't think I will go into each of these details, but pretty much the high-level summary is that you will learn the fundamentals of Gen AI internally, and that's not only in the chatbot space, but also for the images, probably for some audio and video as well. There will be hands-on experience you'll get, like you can know how to prepare the data set, how the model training is happening, how you are doing prompt engineering, and then some of the ethical and legal considerations there. GANs. Before Gen AI, well, GANs are part of Gen AI, and a lot of work has been done through GANs in the past on computer vision side, and also the initial take on the abstractive summarization and creating the language was happening through GANs. Of course, BERT and Transformer had changed the game, but GANs are still very popular. You use them to create, synthesize the data, and this particular course is all about it helps you build systems like DAL-E, where you just give a prompt and it creates images, or you can do image-to-image translation, and a lot of other tasks on the image generation. All right, DRL, as I mentioned, one of the key component of ChatGPT is actually the deep reinforcement learning, and this particular course gives you a theoretical framework for creating a DRL problems, kind of conceptualizing them, and actually go about solving them. There are many available DRL algorithms available, PPO being one of them that has been used in ChatGPT. And as a final project in this particular course, we will go ahead and build ChatGPT, not from scratch, but more in an incremental manner. So I think that's what we have. I think we are on time. UCSC Extensions, our mission is to prepare you for the future. And as I said, do it right now, otherwise you'll be left behind. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Ajay. I think we've been able to get to a lot of the questions in the chat. There is a question here about healthcare. What is synthetic data in healthcare?
All right, so let's take an example of X-ray based diagnosis. And we would like to build a classifier for an X-ray based analysis. Now, while you can get a lot of X-rays with error marked in it, or oftentimes you might have some rare problems or anomaly in the X-ray that has not been captured in the past, that's not there. Or if you are a close hospital and you cannot get data from other hospitals because of the privacy concerns, then you can use AI. You can use some of the AI techniques to, Gen AI to generate, synthesize the X-ray images, which has error in it, which has, for example, broken bones, which has very tiny, I'm not a healthcare specialist, but you can have different type of anomalies and error. And if you are solving a classification problem, for example, then you would need a balanced data set, and Gen AI will help on that, on certain data.
Are there any other questions?
Is it ethical to, especially in the healthcare industry, to generate these anomalies? I know there are a lot of HIPAA certifications that follow. I know since Gen AI is new, people are generating art and, things like that. But are there any HIPAA issues that we should be concerned about?
I don't think that way. Just think it from the perspective of creating more data to train your network, and how the network is performing on the real pictures or real X-rays or images. That's something already is monitored, right? And you are not actually transferring your private data to anyone else. You are just using it for the training of the model that is going to work on the real diagnosis images.
And I'll add just one thing to this regarding any HIPAA concerns, right? I think with respect to any fields like this, data abstraction and then anonymization is already a huge thing as well. So anytime any data scientists are even touching data like this, oftentimes it's already anonymized and sent to them. So generally protocols
are differential privacy methods. Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions? Jennifer or Jen, did I miss anything in the chat?
There was that one question that came up a couple times about VLSI jobs, testability and design verification, and how is AI related to this sector. So AJ put in a little bit of information about that. We've been using it for EDA and semi-manufacturing. But is there anything else that any of you want to say about the impact of AI in the semiconductor field?
Sure, I can kind of take a crack at that. So we are trying to solve the manufacturing problems for the next generation of photolithography, which is how you actually manufacture the chips. And the next generation lithography is called extreme ultraviolet. And based on the existing software methods, simulation methods, the modeling which we have, you cannot do it without the need of DNNs. We are using deep neural networks for expediting some of the modeling simulations that can take really long time. And also we use some iterative optimization methods. Those are pretty time consuming. Those can take like 50 to 60 or more than that hours to kind of finish a job. And we are trying to kind of solve it using DNN, and in the hope that it will be much less in terms of hours. So that's for sure. We are seeing a big boost with DNN, and why the AI can help there is because of these problems. You can always convert them to images, videos, information, data, and then you can apply DNNs on top of that. And I also know that it is happening in EDA field. In 2019, Google, whose main business is not the EDA or design industry, they published the first paper, well, not the first, they published a paper where the reinforcement learning was actually trying to do placement and routing for VLSI. So there are a lot of promises there.
Thanks, AJ. And then there's two more questions about AI as well. One is, how is generative AI used in robotics? Is the first one. I'll let that one be answered by probably Sudhakar.
Generative AI, I think its applicability to robotics is definitely a little more niche, right? I think a text to art generator is maybe not as applicable to robotics, but at least in terms of creating synthetic data, certainly a field that we can very widely use. Easy example that comes to mind is if we have a robotic arm that is trying to, we can use them to basically generate synthetic data for it to learn how to pick objects on its own, right? Because at the end of the day, if I have a robot with matrix position 0, 0, 0, 0 with XYZ, and I needed to go grab certain things, I can create a whole bunch of permutations and matrices and then have the arm try to grab those things, log it, it's trial and error, and then train it. I think maybe there was an article a few years back about how Google was using AI to teach other models AI, right? And things like that, where they're cascading systems. That's just where they're using generative data, and they're working with the whole like realm of basically like synthetic stuff, right? So that something like that would be definitely used for robotic. The point of generative data is for us to be able to create something where we don't already have a bunch of information, right? So if we don't already have a disparity of data, then something like generative AI could be used to create that. But in robotics, generally precision is really important, accuracy is really important, and that doesn't really work well with almost good data, right? We need the actual data. So I think that disparity makes it less applicable, but certainly there's intersections.
Thank you. So here's a question from Phil. Is there an app that would allow me to query my own in-house ring-fenced confidential data? Can you help me figure out my own stuff?
There is not, but I think that's certainly something that you could build, and it wouldn't be out of the realm of like impossible. It would be like a summer project. So for example, if you have all your ring data coming in and you were saving it on a local server, you could do something where when you come home, it says, hi, Phil, welcome home. The kids are out of the house, so you can relax or something, right? It automatically knows that. And it knows that because it also recognizes the kids' faces and is able to say, cool, Tom and Jim aren't home. So it's just Phil. So yeah.
Okay, you heard it, summer project. All right, Tyler wants to know, it says, we know that AI requires a tremendous amount of resources in terms of power and water for cooling. As this technology is adopted more widely, it will impact global resources. What is being done to minimize the resource consumption of AI?
Right. So we are in a transition phase right now. Of course, these resources, GPUs and data centers, factories, they have been used without thinking about the efficiency and optimization. But I think the larger companies like Google, Facebook, they have already started doing things on that front. I remember there has been some paper from Google where they kind of informed us about the kind of power consumption and what kind of efforts they are doing to kind of take care of those. Yeah, and rest, other than that, you can ask ChatGPT the same question. Probably it can provide you more information on that.
I will add just two things.
So there are quantization and binning techniques that have been used for a very long time, and people are actively researching into it due to there have been concerns about carbon emissions and so on. So people are trying to create a benchmark for their AI projects. So it is a good question because it's an active area of research. Yeah, and I think people are just really asking for accountability in terms of how much they're actually using, and not a lot of people are accountable or transparent about that. And I think I guess there are people that are actively asking these questions. So yeah, so there's definitely that.
I'll add just two things. I think for example, in CPG or data science, typically $signs when I'm computing models is an easy thing. So if I'm running a model that's like running for 60 hours, right, that's a lot more $signs than if I was optimized. So in my own company, optimization has been a huge thing. And recently we've done things, we're using PySpark, and there's various other parallelization tools where we can make clusters compute much faster if we just write our code a little more intelligently. So efforts like that are there. And then there's also things like tensor RT and things like that, where we can do model minimization. Like, for example, the generative AI tool that we saw where it was text to image, something like that is 100% I guarantee optimized, because if you have 100 users on the internet typing in cat on stars or something, it's going to waste a lot of trees, right? We're going to be killing trees by the acre. So something like that is already optimized. It's probably not taking more power than it takes to like turn on a light bulb. So those methods are there, and then they're applied sparingly, because until there's a $sign motivation, people won't go that route. But we got to find that sweet spot.
I think climate change is a huge $sign motivation, especially given the fact that there's a lot of knowledge distillation, because BERT, one of the NLP techniques, has been known for using a lot of computing power, especially when you train it. So people have been distilling it. And even with these LLMs like Falcon, apparently is one of the most, I guess, carbon savvy, if you will, technique out there. But it was done in Abu Dhabi or Dubai or something. And they're known as the most carbon savvy technique, even though they trained it on several billion data points. They had a method of distilling that knowledge. So I think this question is important in the sense that if we want like more AI or generative AI, is this going to somehow affect climate, or not climate specifically, but is it somehow going to affect carbon emissions? So I think that's a great question. I think we just don't have a benchmark for it yet. I think I'm still looking forward to having an actual benchmark.
Thanks, Shalini. We have a question from Indu, just clarifying what kind of background someone would need to take courses in the AI program. Anybody want to address that?
From my perspective, just programming experience will be good enough.
And there are some new courses that you don't need programming experience for as well, right? For Shalini's new course, you don't need any programming, right?
No. Well, if you have programming experience, that would help as well if we want to use plugins, but that depends on the kind of project that you want to do. So I think that is kind of the end result. But if you just want to learn how to use these tools, then you don't need programming experience. So it's kind of student dependent.
Okay. And each course will have kind of a list of the prerequisites or the experience that you'll need in order to really succeed in that course. It's really a good idea to pay attention to those suggestions because the classes tend to move pretty quickly. Any other questions? I think we're at the end of the list right now. Anybody have any other questions that they'd like to mention?
Are there going to be any mixers or not mixers, but any events where people can, based on what they learn, to display their projects outside of GitHub? It's just a question.
That's a great question. We don't currently have anything planned. However, that is an amazing idea where we could have an event almost like this webinar tonight, right? And show folks, what people are doing in the classroom. So yeah, I think maybe let's think about looking at that for maybe next summer, after we've run a few of the classes and yeah.
So using Midjourney, a guy that I saw created an entire movie, like a 5-minute movie, just using prompt engineering. So when they asked the question, do I need coding? I guess he didn't use coding, but just using prompt engineering, he created an entire movie without knowing how to paint or draw or know any of those techniques. So I think these are kind of projects that could be showcased.
Absolutely. Great idea.
That sounds fun. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you so much to Ajay and Shalini and Sudhakar and Jim for helping us get this program together, and Carrie, who's not here right now. We really appreciate you showing up and appreciate your questions. If we didn't get a chance, a good place to reach us is extension@ucsc.edu. You can click on our academics menu on from the homepage and see the kind of courses that are being shown in the AI series. And we look forward to having, I guess our next event, Jim, is at December 2nd, December 7th?
Yeah, we have a number of classes coming up between now and the end of the year. And we have a workshop, a Generative AI Fundamentals workshop coming up in December. So yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that one.
Yeah, we have quite a few classes. I'm sorry, I'm not sharing them right now. I will. But thank you so much, everybody, for being here. So we have quite a few classes. The next one is Python for Machine Learning, and that's on September 20th, and then a whole series through the winter.
Yep. If you have any questions, what is the extension@ucsc.edu.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. I'll see some of you guys in the class, probably.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.